There are certain things a woman can say that tell you everything you need to know about where the relationship is and how she truly sees you. Most men ignore these signs. They make excuses for her. They hope she'll change. They try harder. They think being patient will fix everything. But some statements should never be ignored, not because every difficult sentence means the relationship is over, but because certain words can reveal a deeper pattern of disrespect, emotional distance, or a desire to leave. And here's where many men get trapped. They hear something painful, but instead of listening to what is actually being communicated, they immediately start trying to repair the situation. They explain themselves. They apologize for things they didn't do. They give more. They become more available. They try to prove that they are worthy of being loved. But sometimes, the harder you try to convince someone to value you, the more you lose sight of your own value. If you've ever stayed in a relationship where you constantly felt like you had to earn basic respect, you know how exhausting that can become. You may remember the moment when something changed the way she spoke to you. The warmth disappeared, conversations became arguments, or you started questioning yourself after almost every disagreement. If you've experienced that, tell me in the comments which one matters most to you. Respect, communication, appreciation, emotional safety, or trust. Your experience may help another person recognize something they've been struggling to name. And I'm Mary Smith, host of Senior Mindful Living YouTube channel. Today, we're going to look beyond the words themselves and explore what these statements can sometimes communicate psychologically, what you should pay attention to, and how to respond without losing your dignity or becoming bitter. But before we go further, there's an important distinction. A single sentence said during a stressful argument does not automatically define a person or an entire relationship. People say things poorly when they're angry, frightened, overwhelmed, or emotionally flooded. What matters is the pattern. Does she repeatedly dismiss you? Does she take responsibility afterward? Can the two of you repair the damage? Does she show genuine concern when she realizes she hurt you? Those questions tell you far more than one isolated sentence ever could. The first statement is, I don't need you. Independence itself is not a problem. In fact, healthy relationships are usually made stronger when both people maintain a sense of identity, competence, friendships, interests, and personal goals. A woman doesn't have to need a man financially, socially, or practically in order to love him deeply. The problem begins when I don't need you is being used as a weapon. Imagine a couple arguing. The man says, I feel like we're becoming distant. I want us to work on this. She responds, I don't need you. I can do everything myself. The important question isn't whether she can do everything herself. She probably can. The important question is why she chose to communicate independence through rejection. There's a psychological difference between saying, I love you, but I don't want to depend on you for everything, and saying, I don't need you, specifically to make you feel insignificant. One establishes autonomy. The other can become contempt or emotional distancing. And contempt is particularly damaging in relationships. Research on couples has repeatedly identified patterns such as contempt, criticism, defensiveness, and withdrawal as destructive to relationship stability. Contempt is especially concerning because it communicates superiority rather than simply disagreement. So don't respond by trying to prove that she needs you. Don't suddenly become the man who works twice as hard, spends twice as much, gives twice as much attention, or sacrifices everything just to make yourself indispensable. Instead, calmly ask yourself, does this relationship contain mutual appreciation? Because love isn't supposed to be a competition over who needs whom more. A healthier mindset is, we don't have to need each other to survive. We choose each other because our lives are better together. That distinction can change everything. The second statement is, you're too emotional. Now, this one requires nuance. There is nothing wrong with receiving feedback about how you communicate. If you're yelling, threatening, insulting, or repeatedly turning every disagreement into a crisis, a partner has every right to say, we need to talk about how you're expressing this. But you're too emotional becomes a serious problem when it is used to dismiss legitimate feelings rather than understand them. Imagine you tell your partner, when you canceled our plans without telling me, I felt hurt and unimportant. Instead of discussing what happened, she says, you're too emotional. It's not a big deal. Notice what happened. The original issue disappeared. Now the conversation is about whether you're allowed to feel hurt. That's emotional invalidation. And over time, emotional invalidation can teach someone to suppress themselves. You stop talking about disappointment. You stop mentioning loneliness. You stop saying when something bothers you. Eventually, you may become quiet, not because everything is fine, but because you've learned that honesty comes with punishment. And here's something every man should understand. Emotional strength does not mean emotional silence. A strong person can say, "That hurt me." A mature person can say, "I'm angry, but I don't want to attack you." A secure person can say, "I need some time to calm down, and then I'd like to talk." The goal isn't to eliminate emotion. The goal is to regulate emotion. So, if someone tells you that you're too emotional, don't immediately become defensive. Ask yourself what she's actually responding to. Are you expressing yourself respectfully? Are you expecting her to solve every feeling you have? Or is she simply uncomfortable with you having feelings at all? Those are completely different situations. And if you're the one who has been shutting down emotionally because you fear being mocked, here's a practical exercise. The next time something bothers you, describe it using 3 simple sentences. What happened? How I felt? What I need. For example, when you walked away while I was talking, I felt dismissed. I need us to finish difficult conversations without abandoning each other. That's emotional maturity, not weakness. The third statement is, you deserve better than me. This sentence can be confusing because sometimes it genuinely comes from insecurity. Someone may struggle with low self-worth and sincerely believe they're incapable of giving another person what they deserve. But sometimes the sentence is also a gentle way of communicating. I don't want to continue this relationship. And instead of arguing with her, listen. One of the biggest mistakes people make after hearing this is immediately saying, "No, you're perfect. I don't want anyone else. I'll wait for you. I'll help you change." But what if she's telling you she cannot or will not continue? You don't have to convince someone to stay. Ask a calm question. Are you telling me that you want to end the relationship, or are you telling me that you're struggling and want us to work through it? That question creates clarity. If she says she wants to work through it, then talk about what that actually means. What needs to change? What will each person do differently? When will you check in again? If she says she wants to leave, believe her. Not because she's always right, not because you're unworthy, but because relationships require 2 willing people. You cannot build a partnership by yourself. And this leads to a powerful principle. Don't judge commitment by promises. Judge it by consistent behavior. Someone can say, "I love you," while repeatedly treating you poorly. Someone can say, "I'm scared I'll hurt you," while making no effort to change. And someone can say, "I don't know if I'm good enough for you," while genuinely working every day to become a healthier partner. Words provide information. Patterns provide evidence. The fourth statement is, "I never asked you to do anything for me." This one can be especially painful when you've invested deeply. Maybe you supported her through a difficult period. Maybe you rearranged your schedule, helped financially, listened late at night, encouraged her dreams, or simply showed up consistently. Then one day she says, "I never asked you to do any of that." You feel like everything you've given has suddenly become worthless. But here's the psychological lesson. Giving does not automatically create a debt. If you voluntarily give something, you should not secretly keep a scoreboard and expect the other person to repay every sacrifice. At the same time, a healthy partner should be capable of recognizing sincere effort. Both truths can exist. You should give because you genuinely choose to, not because you're building a case for why someone owes you love. And she should be able to appreciate what you contribute without being manipulated into gratitude. So instead of listing everything you've done, ask a deeper question. Is appreciation mutual? Does she notice your effort? Do you notice hers? Can both of you say thank you? Can either person admit, "I haven't appreciated you enough"? A relationship doesn't have to be perfectly balanced every single day. Sometimes one person carries more because the other is struggling. But over months and years, there should be some sense of reciprocity. If you're constantly giving while feeling unseen, the solution isn't necessarily to give more. Sometimes the solution is to stop overfunctioning, stop rescuing, stop trying to earn affection through sacrifice. Give freely where it is healthy, communicate your needs clearly, and watch what happens when you stop carrying the entire relationship. The fifth statement is, maybe we should take a break. Now, this is where many people panic. They hear break and immediately imagine another person, betrayal, or abandonment. But a break doesn't automatically mean any of those things. Sometimes people genuinely need temporary space to regulate themselves, think clearly, or step away from repeated conflict. The real issue is whether the word break has structure or simply creates indefinite uncertainty. If someone says, "I need a few days to clear my head, let's talk Sunday," we're still committed to working on this. That's very different from, "I don't know what I want, let's take a break," followed by weeks of silence and confusion. Healthy space has communication. Avoidance creates uncertainty. So if your partner asks for a break, don't beg, don't threaten, don't stalk her social media. Don't spend every night imagining what she's doing. Instead, ask for clarity. How long are we taking? Are we still exclusive? Are we working toward reconciliation? When will we talk again? Those aren't controlling questions. They're questions about boundaries and expectations. And if she cannot give you any clarity, you're allowed to decide that indefinite uncertainty isn't acceptable for you. That's self-respect, not punishment, not revenge, not pretending you don't care. Self-respect means caring about someone while still recognizing that your emotional well-being matters too. And this brings us to the deeper reason men and women sometimes ignore obvious relationship problems. It's not always because they're weak. Sometimes it's because attachment makes us hopeful. When we love someone, we don't just see who they are today. We remember who they were when everything felt beautiful. We imagine who they could become. We replay the good memories and convince ourselves that if we just say the right thing, give enough patience, become more attractive, earn more money, communicate better, or love harder, we'll bring the old relationship back. But potential is not a relationship. Memories are not a relationship. Promises are not a relationship. The relationship is what two people consistently create together in the present. So here's a practical exercise I want you to try tonight. Take a piece of paper and make 2 columns. In the first column, write what she says. In the second, write what she consistently does. Then compare them. Does she say she loves you but repeatedly dismiss your feelings? Does she say she wants a future but avoid every serious conversation? Does she say she appreciates you but take your effort for granted? Or do her actions actually support her words? Then do the same exercise with yourself. Ask, what am I accepting that I would tell my best friend not to accept? That question can be uncomfortable, but sometimes discomfort is the beginning of clarity. And remember this, walking away is not always the answer. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is stay, communicate honestly, establish boundaries, seek counseling, and rebuild trust together. Other times, leaving is the healthiest choice. The difference isn't whether you're angry. The difference is whether there is mutual willingness to repair. If both people are willing to listen, take responsibility, change unhealthy patterns, and rebuild trust, there may be something worth saving. But if one person repeatedly humiliates, dismisses, manipulates, threatens, or emotionally abandons the other, staying simply because you're afraid of losing them can become a form of losing yourself. And if you've recognized yourself somewhere in this video, don't make a major decision tonight just because you're emotional. Take a breath, step back, look at the pattern, talk to someone you trust. If the relationship is important and both people are willing, consider professional couples counseling. The goal isn't to win against a woman. The goal isn't to make her regret losing you. The goal isn't to become so powerful that she finally chases you. The goal is much simpler. You want a relationship where both people can speak honestly without cruelty, disagree without humiliation, love without fear, and remain independent without making the other person feel disposable. So if you hear one of these statements, don't immediately label her as a bad woman, and don't immediately label yourself as a worthless man. Listen, look at the pattern, ask questions, set boundaries, and then make your decision based on reality rather than fear. Because the strongest person in a relationship isn't the person who cares the least. It's the person who can care deeply without abandoning themselves. And if this message speaks to something you've experienced, leave a comment with one word, respect. Not because every relationship is the same, but because everyone deserves to understand the difference between love and losing themselves while trying to keep it. If you found this valuable, share it with someone who may need to hear it, and subscribe to Senior Mindful Living for more conversations about relationships, emotional intelligence, human behavior, and the psychology behind the connections we build. And remember, you don't have to become cold to protect your heart. You simply have to become clear about what you will and will not accept.